Welcome to our professional training event. I see some familiar faces, so who's been here before? Welcome, we appreciate you coming back. And who's here for the first time? Oh, thanks, you got a nice combination of people. So I thank you guys for coming. We're going to have an incredible day today.
Yeah, so the probiotics that we have, the strains, they're patented to get through the hydrochloric acid. And there are bully probiotics that I say that push their way through. Saccharomyces boulardii is one. Bacillus coagulans is another one. You want some of these big guys in there to push the other guys through. So the superbiotic has about 50 billion colony-forming units. The Frontier Biotics has 5 billion per capsule. So it's kind of easier to use that and figure out, do they need 5? Do they need 15 billion? Do they need 25? So you can kind of play with that one. If you find that, that's why I always start with Frontier Biotics with people with genome mutations, because I can play with the dose and see, like, do they need more? Do they need less? Okay. And then the SBC is Saccharomyces boulardii. This is a yeast-based probiotic. And basically, you take that during any antibiotic use to help keep your microbiome in balance. You can also use it during any type of cleanse for candida. The issue that I see is that I don't really utilize this a lot or cleanse this a lot with somebody that I suspect have a methylation issue. Okay? And then Probzyme is actually a combination chewable. It's an enzyme and a probiotic, and it's actually really awesome for kids that have MTHFR because they'll eat it and they'll chew it, and the enzymes are very beneficial. Enzymatic action with MTHFR is a whole other lecture. What I'm going to say is for people that have both heterozygous, 677 and 1229, be careful of your protease. Okay? Because you don't want to be breaking down proteins that fast, right? And then all of a sudden you get all this homocysteine. Okay? So people, you can even go into diets specific for you. For someone like her, I'd probably say go more vegetarian right now. You need protein, but you have to be able to break it down first. So let's get your gut fixed, because we're going to talk about next is leaky gut. The thing is, our probiotics are guaranteed until expiration. So when you turn a bottle around and it says guaranteed until manufacturing, that means that the manufacturer went, these are alive right now, but as soon as they go across that doorway, I don't know if they'll live. We guarantee ours till expiration. So make sure that you're looking for quality, because probiotics can be very sensitive. Right. Yeah, so when I see companies come out with like Bacillus coagulans by itself, I never take that by itself. I want to take it with another probiotic that doesn't have it in there. It's just a bully. He gets you through. Okay? So, leaky gut. The GI tract is a surface area of over 900 square feet. That's huge. Designed to allow only health problems, promoting nutrients, molecules, and other beneficial substances. In patients that experience leaky gut, molecules of all types are able to go around the cells and get into the circulation. This is not a matter of do you have leaky gut? This is how severe is the leaky gut. Everybody in this room has it, period. So with MTHFR, when you have a mutation or a methylation issue, you have to fix this first before you fix anything else. So if you start taking supplements, and you find that you're doing good for a while, and all of a sudden, yes, it can be dosage, but it can be this. And especially if you're a heterozygous compound, hint, hint, wink, wink, you have to fix this first. Okay? So this is a condition of the lining of the small intestine becomes damaged, right? And those junctions, they start to loosen, and you get gaps and holes. And what happens is substances enter the bloodstream, which then your body's going to have an immune response, because any foreign anything in the blood is going to elicit an immune response, right? Especially if it's a protein. So when we talk about candida, people always go on candida diets, and they cut sugar, and they cut sugar. They come back and they're like, I still have this problem. I'm like, well, one, you probably have leaky gut. And two, candida eats anything, not just sugar. If you're not chewing your food and starting your enzymatic process, if you're not breaking things down so that your body can break it down, your candida in your digestive system, which is a blood barrier protector, he's a good guy, he'll eat it and he just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he becomes systemic. So I'm not a big fan of like cleanses right off the bat, because I have to understand what the client has done wrong to get their body to respond this way. Your body doesn't just one day say, you know what, I'm going to overgrow candida today. It's candida day, it's Tuesday. So, right? All right, so we all have it due to pesticides, stress. How many people have no stress? Right? Okay, then you all have leaky gut. Micah, please. Thinking of leaky gut as a spectrum from mild to severe, people with MTHFR, SNPs, and methylation are more likely to experience leaky gut in its more severe form. Okay? Because SAM is needed to make new and healthy cells in the intestine, the person with MTHFR, SNPs, is less able to make enough SAM, especially when stressed. So people with MTHFR are drastically affected by stress. Okay. So remember how I said I wanted to come back to the histamine thing, right? So one thing you might not realize is methylation is responsible for the breakdown of histamine. So people that have a histamine response. The methyl group is made and floats around until it finds that site, and it binds to histamine, and it basically breaks it down and it goes away. People that have issues with methylation or have SNPs, SNPs, can come to the point where it's so bad you get an intolerance, which goes beyond the basic food sensitivities. So we see it start as food sensitivities, and everybody, what happens? We're basically eating a leaf and a carrot and a piece of chicken, right? Because we can't eat anything. Instead of going in and saying, okay, should we be testing for this? Is this low methylation? Are there products that we can give you to increase methylation, to increase glutathione, to increase SAMe, so that you don't have this response, instead of trying to repress the histamine? Okay? Because it's not that your body's like, you know what, it's Wednesday, it's histamine day, we're going to increase that today. It doesn't do that. It responds. So your gut bacteria in the microbiome, there will also be more severe imbalances in that. Okay? The gut bacteria require a healthy gut lining to thrive. When leaky gut exists, gut bacteria have a harder time staying balanced. And so when gut bacteria have a harder time staying balanced, you get endotoxins. And endotoxins is the waste product of bacteria. It's bacteria poop is what it is. And so, yes?
Yeah, do you have any tests that you can recommend for testing IgE for the histamine response?
You can, yeah. I didn't put them in here, but you can absolutely test for histamine. But I will say this. If you have an MTHFR mutation and someone's demonstrating histamine, the histamine test isn't really going to tell me as much as knowing the methylation issue. Because, again, remember, we take these steps, right? Every time we get better at this. It's like, okay, we had histamine tests. Okay, now we have MTHFR tests. So the histamine's still important, but it's not the reason. It's not the source. Okay, the MTHFR mutation might be, or the methylation issue.
So are you thinking, just walking in, obviously without testing, that if a child comes in and they're presenting with intolerances to more and more foods, they have like Tuesday's new food allergy day, like
right, Wednesday's the next one, yeah.
Yeah, that are you assuming that you should probably check for a methylation problem?
Yep.
Because it's more
yeah.
likely,
and babies,
it's very rare to have just a baby that's getting sick from
right. So that's where we're going to come back to medications that affect, and why I talked about vaccines, because there are things that actually you lay on to a child, like food additives, BHT, food dyes, and all these things, and all of a sudden these kids have all these histamine responses. And I had the same thing. I had a baby, and mom sent me this picture, just full-blown hives. And it was 6 months old. It's not like, and I said, what happened? So I had to go back and ask the mom, test, I need to know. And it turned out that he was a heterozygous compound. So that's like, I like how you're connecting. That's what I'm talking about. Like, as practitioners, you're going to have to connect the dots, and then send them back to affirm it. Yes, you first, then you. Go ahead.
So I get hives all the time. Is something, can you take SAM as
Yes,
a product?
yes.
Okay.
That if you're severe, I would say SAMe right off the bat. Okay.
I can't take Tylenol, ibuprofen,
Right.
eggs.
That's because yep. So. Well, that one for sure. Like, if you put a SAMe in your wine glass, that should be fun. No, I'm just kidding. Just break it open. Mix it up.
Since SAM is a derivative of methionine,
Right.
can you supplement with methionine and sort of take care of the whole cascade?
Well, if you can't convert the methionine, then you have an issue. So that's the problem.
It's finding the exact
Right.
thing.
So she can start taking SAMe and then go drink wine and see what happens. Right? If that's the issue, it's the conversion that's her problem. If that doesn't work, I would back her up a step and say, are you getting enough protein? And if she says yes, then I'd back her up one more step. Are you breaking down the protein as an enzymatic action? Right? So it's all about and once you know these, once you start connecting the dots of conversions, you can start walking backwards and saying, all right, she took SAMe, hives are still there. Now we're looking at the protein. Okay, she's getting enough protein, but okay, let's go. Are you taking enough enzymes? Are you breaking it down? Are you chewing it, right? So sometimes it's just following that path. But that's a good question. Yes?
Can you discuss the homozygotes? You talked about heterozygous.
We're going to get into that after lunch. Oh, I got a whole thing on that.
Oh, cool.
Yep, systems, functions, what they experience, how to supplement for them. Yeah, I'm just trying to get everybody on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
It's a little separate but related. During a stressful time in my life, I tried taking the SAMe 3 days in a row, and I got the worst nightmares I've ever had.
Yeah, neurotransmitters.
Is,
You have good synapses. So that might, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like people will give these generalizations like SAMe for calming, right? You can't generalize anymore. We're becoming so specific, and we always were, but it's now with these mutations, it's even more. So SAMe didn't work for you because that wasn't your issue. Your issue was just probably stress, not methylation. So it didn't help you. You were already converting enough SAMe. Then when you took more, now you're having nightmares. Your body's like, all right, she's not listening, so I'm just going to scare her to death so she stops taking this. Worked, didn't it? You only took it for a couple days. Your body never does anything wrong. It'll get your attention one way or the other. So these endotoxins in the gut, when we're talking about leaky gut, this is the big problem, because the endotoxins are the waste product of this bacterial overgrowth, this bad bacteria. And if you have leaky gut, if those tight junctions are no longer tight and this is leaking out, now you're going to have a greater level of impairment in methylation because you're blocking the methyl enzymes like MAT. And if you go back to your enzyme sheet, you don't get SAMe. So we have to address leaky gut. Okay? So this is where we're going to start with leaky gut. And then we'll probably get through this and be able to go to lunch and come back and learn about genetic mutations. So GI Complete, this is one of our products. We have it in capsule and powder form. It is probably one of my favorite products. I use this a lot for people that just have general digestive issues, but it works great for people that have issues with leaky gut. There's L-glutamine. GI Complete also supports by supplying nutrients. We know L-glutamine is extremely important. Some people that can't tolerate L-glutamine directly like this, I use bone broth. And for moms that have little kids, bone broth is a hydrophilic colloid. It's going to like heal and seal that digestive system. I usually say make a nice soup out of that. Your kids won't know the difference, right? Marshmallow, it's very soothing. Detoxifies the pockets of the colon. This is important for that reestablishment of our microbiome, probiotics, right? We want the colon to be clean. Slippery elm. You know, I learned about slippery elm from my grandmother. She used to take it all the time. So this was one that was very common to me when I got into natural health. But the benefits of it is basically detoxification. That's what slippery elm is all about. It also calms everything down. Aloe vera, I think we know the value of aloe vera, but when I talk to people about digestion and they tell me that they're on some sort of acid reducer because they have too much acid or they have an ulcer, aloe vera is usually my first go-to, just to help heal and seal and cool everything down. You never have too much acid. That is such a rarity. It's basically you have too low. And because of stress or high sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic is shut down, your mucosal lining is what really is going to take the hit in the digestive system. And so it thins out, and then you're producing too much acid, right, according to them, or just a regular amount of acid, and all of a sudden you're getting ulcerations. It's also, I did a big thing on it on pH, of how that hot, sticky chyme comes out of the stomach into the small intestine and the lack of gallbladder. So I like this product because people that don't have a gallbladder do very well with GI Complete. Any questions so far? So DGL is diglycerized licorice. So people worry about licorice with high blood pressure and things like that. And a lot of your people that have methylation issues are going to have blood pressure issues. So they worry about this, but this is a safe form. okay, because the glycerized acid has actually been removed. So therefore, it makes it safe for people that have issues with blood pressure. DMG, there it is again, right? It's in this product too. Although I would add additional, the DMG here supports the immune system, anti-inflammatory, cellular regeneration, glutathione production. It's a methyl donor, so it's a good product to have. Okay, so last two products are basically about immune system and supporting that because we know that our gut is very huge on immune system. So I like GI Complete, especially because it's mixed with water. And most of the supplements that are in GI Complete will actually bind with water and work better in the digestive tract. So I like the powder over the capsules. Go ahead. So as you can see, DMG is in a lot of our products. And when I first came on board with Jamie, I was like, this is like our magic, this is the magic supplement. Let's talk about this more. So it is very powerful in the entire methylation cycle because of its ability to donate. And that's why it's in most of the products. Okay, so leaky gut success protocol. Reset the GI tract, remove the toxins, foreign invaders. But you can't do that if you have somebody that has a methylation issue. We have to correct leaky gut, and then we have to correct the methylation to be able to make enough glutathione, which is why our detoxification products, such as Live Clear, have the DMG. Okay. Remove inflammatory foods. A lot of people know that dairy can be inflammatory, gluten is inflammatory. And then rebuild. So GI Complete, probiotics, digestive enzyme. I usually suggest that if you're using enzymes, use them the right way. So people just give people enzymes. Okay? There's 3 ways to use enzymes. Before a meal, to digest food. After a meal, to rebuild a process system or organ. And in between meals, systemically, to eat anything that shouldn't be there. So I use enzymes a lot, but I use them in a fashion where your body can actually identify with what they're doing. So I like to use Cybezyme at the beginning of the meal. I like to use the Betazyme on the last bite. So remember how we talked about TMG, trimethylglycine, right? And I said we need DMG, we need TMG, we need SAMe. This is important for the betaine, the last bite of the meal. So it's the same. It's almost the same process by taking it at the end of the meal. It's a sulfur-based supplement, so it's a provoker of acid. It's not acid. There's no hydrochloric acid in this. Does everyone understand that? It's hydrochloride, so it just provokes. So if somebody doesn't need this, they're going to get heartburn when they take it. Does anybody ever give Betazyme to somebody and they're like, it gave me heartburn? That's a good sign that their hydrochloric acid is back where it should be. So I usually tell people, take this until you get heartburn. They're like, what? Like, you'll know. Okay, and again, bone broth. Whole food diet. I go with something really simple. Tree, ground, run, swim, fly, right? If you read this magazine, I wrote probably the majority, and Candace wrote the supplement pyramid. This is basically the guideline of how I start people out. It's an educational tool, and I get everybody on the same playing field. At the end of the day, regardless of how many supplements you take, you can't outrun your fork. You have to start with whole food, organic, non-genetically modified, especially with people with genetic mutations or methylation issues. They're going to have a lot of problems eating food that isn't organic and not genetically modified. So we have to educate your clients on that. Okay? Yes?
Before you move on, could you repeat what you said about taking them in between meals?
Sure.
Versus the beginning or the end?
Okay, so when you use enzymes at the beginning of the meal, the enzyme is going to help break down your food. It's called predigestion. When you use enzymes at the end of the meal, it's going to rebuild a process. And there's different enzymes that do different things, and it's an entire course. We can do that, but not today. If you use enzymes in between meals on an empty stomach, it's called systemic enzyme therapy. I use that a lot with people that have encapsulated proteins in small masses in their body, because the enzyme will eat the outside, and then the enzyme will eat the protein inside. Not saying it's a cure, I'm just saying I use it. That's all I'm saying.
So that's very potent, is what you're saying.
Serapeptase, yeah. We have Natakin Plus. Works really well for that systemic therapy.
Which one was that?
Natakin Plus.
Spell it.
Nati, is it Kin? Is that
N-A-T-T-O-K-I-N.
nattokin? Okay, nattokin. They can't just say it's nattokinase.
I always like to look at using systemic enzymes as a little hackman to pick up debris.
Yeah.
That helps anybody can remember. how to
Exactly.
use it.
With leaky gut, it's fabulous. If you couple your leaky gut protocol with systemic enzyme therapy, you'll clear up allergies so fast. Because it eats everything that's circulating in the blood. That's what enzymes do. Remember, enzymes are construction workers. They build things and they tear things down. They don't just digest food. They're part of every process. They're part of methylation. You make enzymes for immune response. You make enzymes for hormone production. Remember, an enzyme works with an amino acid in a mineral. It can't function without it. That's why minerals are so important. That's why amino acids are so important. So enzymes are one of the best therapies that I do. So you can use Nattokin Plus or you can use Cybezyme in between meals. It works the same. You get an injury, sprained ankle, anything, enzyme therapy, empty stomach. It'll eat any foreign protein in your body. It's great. Okay, so we went over supplementation a little bit with methylation. We went over gut health with methylation. So we know that 50% of the population will benefit from just what we talked about, and we haven't even gotten genetic mutations yet.